And welcome back to more unwrapping fun. Let's actually continue with this piece here first. Let's finish the trigger elements. That should be pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna select everything, flatten map. And we can pretty much leave it as it is. That looks okay here. And that piece is also already done. What about that here? Okay, it's the only part that we still have to stitch something. And other than that, that piece is done. And let's have a look around. Let us just continue here with the safety switch now. Select everything, flatten map it, and I'm gonna take this element here, going to grow that selection, and I also want to take these elements here, so I'm gonna select them all here. And I'm going to quick planar it in combination with the peel. And that's the first piece unwrapped. Let's have a look at this. That already came out pretty good, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. And as for this piece here, that looks to me like another case of something that we could straighten. The only problem is that this piece is a triangle, so I'm gonna break it so that the straighten selection feature actually works on it, and that lays it out pretty good. However, I also want to relax it and just fix it manually again, so I'm gonna straighten these edges. Gonna stitch this little triangle back on here, and that completes this piece here already. As I said before, or at least I think I said before, it doesn't always matter to really straighten all these edges here individually in between. That's perfectly fine to just leave it like this here. So I'm gonna have it all straight laid out here. And let's see for the next pieces, like this here for instance. No, this. Select that. And let me just take it as it is and also straighten it. Put that over here. And let's have a look here at this piece in the back. Just take it as it is, and this piece here as well. Basically the flatten mapping already did a pretty good job on it, so I'm just gonna leave it mostly as it is, but I will break it away from these faces that stick out here, so I'm going to break it. And it belongs over here. Well, actually it doesn't matter yet where we put it. Let's just put everything out of the way that we already unwrapped. And this here I'm going to stitch. Let me just zoom in here and target weld this. And let's give that the peel mode as well as aligning it. And in that case, I don't care for the making it straight here. Like that would be too much of a distortion to make it straight. So I'm just gonna keep it like this in that instance here. because also I'm not sure yet, but maybe we also want to add this diamond pattern normal map, so we want to avoid having too much distortion there. This is where actually details may be mapped onto later. However, I was attaching or detaching it from this element, which we will never see, so that later then we can just take that stuff here and actually scale it down quite significantly, so that we don't waste all this resolution. However, here this is obviously more visible from the side, so I'm gonna leave this here as one UV island in its native resolution. Let's have a look around here. This looks like some more stitching. Let me also break that here. All right. And as for that piece, let me stitch it. Some more stitching. And I'm going to separate this here. Let me align it. And let's just make one horizontal aligned edge here out of it. As well as here on the top, minus this edge, because this is where it actually comes together over here. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. Maybe we can straighten that one here. And this piece here, I'm also gonna align it. And that looks already perfectly straight. However, let's just peel it. And let's see what else there is to it. Continuous here, so I'm gonna do some more stitching on it. Just make sure it's straight here, not like that. And what's the problem? Sometimes this happens to me here. It's something that I've never been able to determine what the problem is. Like I am in edge mode and I can't select anything. So I don't know what's happening there, but it's super annoying. And usually I just step out of the UV editor and I reopen it and then it's back to normal, but very, very weird. Something you just get to learn to sort of live with if you are a constant 3D Max user, like a lot of other small annoying issues. Straighten that. And actually, let's also do this first here. Align and straighten. And let me just push everything that we already unwrapped here to the side. So we have these elements here. All that is already unwrapped. This element we can also just drag over here. Maybe straighten it here. And that piece should be also good to go. And what is that here? Okay, I will just leave this piece here as it is. There's really no need to make that perfectly straight. I just don't... It's not really in your face much, so we're just gonna leave it like this. And what is here? Let's align this here. And also bring it over. And the same applies to this piece. Gonna leave it as it is, bring it over here. And that leaves us with only some more faces wrapped around here all the way. So looks like some more stitching. And what is this? Okay, this is this piece. So this is the only piece on that element that I'm actually gonna also straighten. So first let's straighten this edge here. And now let's align this here. And stitch it back on. And as for that stuff, I'm just gonna leave it like this. It's okay. And those little pieces, let's check them out. Okay, we already unwrapped this here earlier, so also all done. And these pieces are also perfectly unwrapped from our flatten mapping. Actually, they are not. This one here we can just straighten. And this one needs to be aligned. Okay, and that would be this safety switch unwrapped. Let me rescale the elements as well. And let's continue with the next piece, which would be that one. So one thing to approach this is to flatten map it. Then we're selecting this middle piece here, grow it, quick planar again, and then we get rid of it here, this piece in the middle. Because also I want to completely straighten that. Like this piece here, even though it's a circle, it will actually bake on nicer later when we bake the normal map if this is as unfolded as a stripe. So let's take this edge here, just gonna loop it, and I'm also gonna break it here. I'm going to straighten the selection. And now, since the straighten tool usually doesn't do a good job, I just relax it manually. And then I'm going to align those edges again. And in that case, I'm just gonna do it for all of them. And that would be this piece. And this piece here, we're just gonna stitch back together, as well as peeling it. And that would be this element. So as a next thing, I want to be working here on the magazine. And one of the first things that I'm doing is also to get rid of this edge loop that we don't need anymore. That was for the symmetry modifier only. And the next thing that I want to do is to go into face mode. And I'm gonna just select everything here on that side. Let's do that again. Deselect those faces, but everything else. Okay, actually, let's also keep those unique here as one texture. But everything else that I have selected right now, we're just gonna copy back later from that side. So for now, we can then just go ahead and detach this. And I will also again give it this material that we always use to visualize that this is where we need to put stuff back later. So for now, let's go in isolation mode on this piece and let's start unwrapping. So first of all, actually let me get out of this UV editor in the window again. Select all our verts and let's see if we have anything that we forgot to weld. And yes, we did, 2 verts. Because there's a lot of geometry here, so that already makes it easier than to work with our tools. If there's overlapping vertices, then sometimes this results in some strange ways that we can prevent by welding it. Now, there's going to be quite a little bit of action with our peel mode here on this object. I can already tell that. So I'm gonna just select everything that I want to unwrap together to make it easier for us. And that is everything around here. But I'm not gonna bother with these elements here. This is basically where it ends. And this is where we're gonna do individual unwrapping then later. So for now, let's just select all that stuff here, as well as down here. Let's have a look around. Let's add those faces as well. And now we're gonna quick planar that. And now the unfortunate thing is that this is having this banana shape that we really don't want to have. We also want to have it straight. So let's see what we can do with the peel mode. Alright, that already doesn't look too shabby. So I'm gonna select this, bring it around here, and we're still in the peel mode. So let's try to position that here with our verts or control points. Which is probably not too bad. We just gotta bring some patience with it here. And that just shows how powerful this peel mode can be, like especially on complicated geometry like this one here, where we really want to keep our edges perfectly straight. And let's just add a few more down here as well. And now let's just get out of this mode and let's straighten those edges here. Just watch out that you don't do what I just did and by accident follow some edge loop and then align it in some weird way. Like here for instance, we only want to align it here on that side. And the same goes for that stuff here. Because 3D Max often doesn't know, okay, where are the edges that we really want to select, obviously, so we just got to make sure we deselect those. No, I want to have this edge and also this edge. And we're almost there. At least on the vertical side, we're almost there. So that shouldn't be too bad to do the same thing here vertically, because really all we got to do is loop it and align it. Not like that. And the same thing for these guys down here. So I'm just gonna make my edge selection and also horizontally align it. Again, let's pay attention to the edges that we actually want to straighten here and not select too many. Let's have a look where that actually is. Okay, this is here. And this is that stuff here. And that is here on the same layer, so to say. So I'm just gonna select those edges together, bring them back down. And there's this edge loop here that I forgot. Okay, that looks pretty good. Leave this one here. and that would be the biggest piece of work done. But unfortunately, we're not entirely done on that thing. So I'm gonna select everything here. Just flap and map it again, and let's see about these faces here. This stuff on the sides. And actually, let's just select those faces here as well. And let us just detach them. Like, we can just share that. So with the selection still active here, gonna detach it. Get out of the isolation mode first. And I'm gonna attach it back to our geometry that we need to remember later. And back to this. And let's already put everything out of the way that we pretty much already have finished. Like, this piece came out perfect. And that one here looks like it can need some align actions. Other than that, it's also done. And this here needs a bit of welding. Same as here. So let me disable the map seams so you see more what's happening here. Let me save this as default. And now I have one of these cases again where I can't select my edge, which is super annoying. Here we go. Align. And let me also align all these edges here. There might be a bit of a distortion happening, but doesn't really matter so much because we will barely ever see this here. Let's also align that. As well as stitch these pieces here. And I guess now we can just align this here again. Bring that down a bit. Align it here. And let's also just align this here again. Doesn't really matter here for this piece if it's distorted. Or let's just say it doesn't matter too much. Of course, there's no such thing as it doesn't matter, but it's not very crucial to the results, especially for what we're going to see. It's more important to unwrap these pieces here that are on the outside in a very perfect way. But again, I'm gonna just straighten that here as well as here. And let's see what that leaves us with. Let's have a look at this piece here. That seems to be all quad geometry besides this triangle. So I'm going to detach it and I'm going to straighten it. Plus relax mode. And I'm just gonna leave it like this. Oops, not like that. And that piece here belongs to this face. No. Let me unwrap that face here individually. And let's align it. And let's also make this straight here. And I know this has quite a bit of an angle to it. So it might kind of counter to what I was saying earlier, that we should break that up, but in that case, this is such a small piece, I'm just gonna keep it together for now, for the convenience of it. Let's bring that over here. And it looks like there's some more stitching necessary. Let's see, where's that coming from? Actually, I don't want to stitch this here, so I'm gonna selected the wrong edges. I want to stitch it here. Let's just rotate this here and also straighten everything. And also let's straighten that piece here. Same as before, I'm just gonna make it all one stripe. And let's take the things that we already unwrapped and also put them over here. And this piece here, select these faces that belong together and quick planar it again, as well as peel. And also that stuff here, let me straighten that and relax it, and then I'm gonna just align it. And let's see what that leaves us with. Let's have a look at this element here, all that stuff. Me just flatten map that again. And the only pieces that really need some work, I think, is that here. So I'm gonna align it. Actually, let's align it here on that. Straighten those edges. And also I want to straighten the other edges here. So I'm gonna just manually pull on these verts. And again, straighten that out. And I'm gonna do the same thing here on the other side. Around there. And also align. And the rest seems already completed. Other than this here, we need to stitch that as well. Everything else seems to be okay. Let's get that all out of the way here. And that leaves us with not a whole lot, only these pieces here. Flatten map and align. And I guess we could also stitch this back here. But not before we straighten those edges, or else they will come out or come on in a bizarre looking way, like it just happened. And let me snap that. But for that we have to be in the vertex mode. Let's align it and snap it. And I'm going to leave this here as one piece because this has quite the harsh angle to that here. So I'm just gonna, actually I just changed my mind. You know what? Let's just add that here. Seems to be fine, the angle. And this piece here, we can just leave with that. So everything else, we just have to align it again. Let's also align this here. And some more stuff here. So what about this piece? Let's see. First of all, there's some more stitching here. And some more aligning here. And also let's separate these faces out here. Let's just break it, and same as usual, we're gonna straighten it, relax, and align it manually. And that piece here belongs on top of that here. So let's hope it does a decent job with the stitching. And I'm gonna align these words here as well. So let's just straighten it. Grab these words here on the side, also align them and snap them back. And that looks pretty decent. And now I'm just gonna weld it. Right click and weld select it so that everything is one piece here. Let's have a look at this stuff here, the remaining bits. And as for these pieces here, I want to keep those here as one element. So I'm going to break it, going to straighten it, and let's align these pieces here. And let me detach these ones here as well. Straighten that, and also straighten this here. Let's do it manually quickly. Stitch it back together. And as for this piece here, let's take it together with that one and quick planar it, and also give it the straighten. And that looks almost done. Let's have a look around. This piece could be welded together with this piece, or stitched. Basically, the stitching is welding. However, let's undo that. Let's just take this piece here and that piece and just quick planar it and straighten here. And where does this belong to? Down here. And that is, where's that? Ah, okay, it's over here. Oh yeah, let's see, where does this come from? Oh no, this is on that side, that's fine. Everything else, yeah, this seems to be it. So let's just rescale that. And now there's only one thing left to do that I want to do here, is that these little knobs that are coming out on the side, I want to have them detached to ensure that our normal map bake will be as perfect as it can be. So I'm just gonna grab these, and I'm also gonna grab those guys here. Let's grab them all. And that's pretty much it. And I'm then just gonna right click it and break. And drag them out. And since we already straightened everything earlier, we don't have to do it now. It's already as straight as it can be, minus these bits here on the top, but that won't really make a big difference, but still we can just fix it quickly. Maybe bring all this here to the same height. Same as this. And let's drag those down a little bit. Okay, let's just leave it like this here. Other than that, that is pretty much it here. This is our magazine. Let's just have a look around. Now everything is unwrapped. So that was quite the piece of work for sure. Let's just give it the rescale elements as well. And let's attend to the next piece. And fortunately, the next piece is not as difficult as the last one that we just tackled. So I'm just gonna flatten map it as always. And I want to select all these faces here and give them a cylindrical projection on the y-axis. And also you can see how it stretches it all here in our UV canvas. So in order to really give it the actual scale that it has, we have to uncheck normalized map, and it will then just do that. So let's get out of this mode again. And let's have a look at the rest of our stuff. Gonna stitch. And since this here will barely ever be visible, I'm gonna take it here to basically the center of it, and then I'm gonna just scale that like this here, which means that for the unlikely case that you will ever see it like through here, there's still some geometry visible that actually has a texture, but we don't waste so much texture space on it. This here, however, on the front, of course, will be fully visible, so we're gonna leave it perfectly unwrapped here. Anyway, let's just get back and continue with the rest. And now that I think about it, the same of course applies to this cylinder that we just unwrapped. So I'm just gonna take it here in the top perspective, gonna select the faces that we will probably see. I'm gonna detach them, weld these faces back together on the other side, as well as weld them back on here. And then in the freeform mode, I'm also gonna just do this here. So we still have geometry, but we don't waste a whole lot of texture space for it. And let's see about that piece here that already came out nice with the flattened map. So we're just gonna leave it exactly like that and also just get it out of the way. And these pieces here also came out pretty good. Let's just give them the peel. Same for that side. Let's just leave it like this, just peel it. And let's see about the align here. Let's grab those guys and align it. And as for this, we want to have this as one continuous unwrap. So in that case, what I'm going to do is, first of all, stitch it. And now I'm going to also peel it. And let's see if we can now just align it somehow. Sort of. Let's exit the peel mode and grab all these words down here and also align it again. And maybe around here we're also gonna just align it, plus these words here, as well as here on the sides where it matters. And other than that, we can just drag it over here. This piece here is belonging to that element. We're just gonna put it over here. And other than that, that's basically this piece unwrapped. Just get back to it, select all, and also I'm just gonna rescale the elements. And like I was saying in the beginning, we're gonna rescale the elements for everything together later on, just to make it look nicer and consistent, to see where we already been working at. I like to do it while I'm working on it. Next, let's work here on the rear side. So let's isolate it. And even though it looks like it's almost perfectly symmetrical, we know that here we added this little piece that's kind of carved in there and that has this iconic scratch. So we can't just mirror one side perfectly over to the other side. However, maybe there are some things that we can share. But for now, let's just select this edge loop here that we know we don't have any use for. Let's make sure that this edge here stays there though. Everything else we can just delete. And also here at the bottom, we will actually never see these faces, so I'm just gonna delete them as well. And also we can just delete these edges here. They have no purpose for us here. Same as these edges. Just gonna get rid of them. And let's target weld this down here. And now basically, as funny as that looks, but this is the geometry that we can use for our low poly. So I'm going back here in the low poly mode. And as always, I'm going to flatten map it. Shift it out of the way here. And it looks like the flatten unwrap already did a good job here on the sides. I mean, it has no other choice. This is a perfect flat area, so it needs to come out nice and clean. So let's drag that over here, and maybe we can already rotate it in the right way. And next, let's have a look at this stuff here. Let's see those faces. Now that would be a case of an angle that is okay to keep as one strip or stripe. I guess sometimes I'm getting confused with the English language. Let's just select that stuff here, make it all one. And let's also take that here. And just stitch together these top bits. Let's put it over here. And that piece looks almost fine. However, we can add all that stuff here on the front. So I'm just gonna stitch it. And that came out pretty good, so I'm just gonna weld it. As well as these pieces here. And now that I see it, let's get rid of all these edges here. I thought that was something that we already took care of, but apparently we did not. So I'm just gonna get rid of these extra edges that we have no need for. Just delete them. And let's grab that stuff here as well as that and get them out of the way. And these pieces here, let's just weld them together. There might be a bit of a steep angle there, but in that case it's hidden there, it doesn't really matter so much, so let's just keep it one element. So we already unwrapped quite a bit here. Let's have a look at this piece here. There's no way we can perfectly straighten all that, so as long as we align it here on that axis, I think we're okay with as it is. So let's see which edge that is. Okay, it's that edge. So I'm gonna bring up text tools and I'm going to align it. And let's just vertically flip it as well as horizontally. So now it actually points into the right direction as we see it from that perspective here. And these pieces here on the inside, we can do some more stitching on them. Some more pieces left. And that would be that thing. Let's also drag it over here. And let's have a look at this. So that is pretty much unwrapped all the way till here, but let's also stitch these other three faces back on there. And I guess that came on here together with this piece, and that's fine. We can just leave it like that. However, let's also stitch this stuff here on the other side. And we could mirror it, but I just want to keep it unique, because let's say we have some really characteristic piece of oil or some metal scratch. We don't want it to be too obvious here on these faces where it matters. So all that's left here is to straighten it. And other than that, that's pretty okay. Let's see for these faces here. Let me just straighten that here and also stitch. And that seems fine here for that piece. Or actually, it's still missing these faces here, these two. Straighten it. And the same applies to these faces here. Straighten. And let's have a look at that stuff here. Oh, we already unwrapped that. Okay. That's fine as it is there. So all that we can already consider unwrapped. Let's see about that piece here. Let's take this with this element and that element here. Actually, let's align that. And let's also get it out of the way. And that piece is also already unwrapped, so we can just take it here. And I guess that these pieces would need some stitching. One face each. And let's take this one over here and let's have a look at that here. Let's straighten it. Well, and it seems like I did a really poor job on it, the straighten buttons, so I'm just gonna do that manually. And that piece here is over there. Let's have a look at this piece here. Same as before, I'm just gonna align it here. Nice and straight. And as for the missing geometry, let's see about this here. That would be that piece here. And the remaining bits are around here, and that leaves us only with this stuff here to stitch back together. Straighten it. Align it. And that's basically all that. So one thing that we could do is to decide on one of these sides here to select the elements and also here on that side. So I'm taking these elements here and I will then just exit the UVW editor, going to detach them and also apply our material for stuff that we want to just copy back on there later on, because that's really the kind of stuff that you will barely ever notice that this here would be the same textures over here, but it enables us to save a little bit of texture space for our texture. Let me just get back here. Let's just flip that around. And that looks pretty okay. What was that here? Let's just straighten everything here as well. Let's rotate that around and also straighten it here. And other than that, that's basically most of the work done on that piece. So I'm just gonna rescale the elements, put it somewhere around here, which really doesn't matter actually. I keep saying that, I don't even know why. Later we all gonna puzzle it back together anyway. And first of all, let's have a look here at this stuff that's remaining on that side of the receiver. So in that case here, I can already say for sure that I just want to detach that, and also I'm going to mirror it back later. And we can then always later, you know, just rotate it like this so that it's not too obvious that it's the same shared texture space. For now, let's just get in here and flatten map it. And also, same as we did in an earlier case, we're just gonna break it somewhere around here. And we are then straightening it. And that did a pretty good job. Everything is perfectly even here, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. And as for these faces here, let's just stitch them back together. And that goes all the way around, looks good. So let's take it here, and that face is already perfectly unwrapped. That leaves us with these pieces here. Looking good, and then we have the same stuff happening here. So I'm just gonna select one edge, straightening it, and then here on the inside we have some more faces that we want to stitch together. And also this piece here. So other than that, this is all done here. I'm just going to rescale it. And I'm going to proceed with the next piece, which is the rear side leaf. And one thing that I can also do here is to just target weld some of these edges so that we're saving a little bit of poly count there. And that's basically it. So same as always, I'm just gonna flatten map it. And that piece here already came out perfectly fine, so that's basically already done. And as for these pieces here in the inside, that also looks done, so should be pretty straightforward here on that element. Because usually the elements that don't have a whole lot of curves to it are very easy to unwrap. Like often it's really just a matter of applying the flatten map to it and we're all good to go. So this piece here, I'm just gonna bring it over, and this is the bottom piece, which also seems to be done. Let's have a look here at the sides. That looks also okay to me. And in that case, it's I'm just gonna leave it together all like this. So let's just take these faces here, put it all together here, and let's see for the rest of it. And it seems like it really did a pretty good job here, the flatten map this time. I'm just gonna break them, or you know what, I'm just gonna keep them together like this. Let's just leave it like this. So really the only thing that we still have to do on that object is to straighten these edges here and stitch them back together. As well as selecting all these vertices here and also align them. But other than that, oh, okay, let's actually break these edges here. Let's break it, And let's break it again here in the middle, because obviously we have like 90-degree angles here, so we don't want to keep that together. Let's straighten that here as well as here. And that's basically this thing all done already. So I'm just gonna rescale it, collapse, and we are going to continue with the next piece, which we find over here. So let me just select everything and peel it. And let's align it. And that would be this piece. Next would be this one here. Let's bring it over here. And as always, I'm just going to flatten map it. Let's have a look here at the back of it. So we can basically leave this as it is. I'm just going to detach it from these faces here. And then I'm going to stitch these faces back to this element here. And that's pretty good already. I'm just gonna select these vertices here and I'm gonna straighten them as well. And speaking of straighten, there's not really too much we can do here on that piece because it has angles that go onto, that are found on both sides of it. So basically, as long as we can keep one of the sides straight, that's all we can do here. And let's see about this piece here. Straighten it here. And other than that, that's pretty good already. And this piece here, let's see about it. Let's just select these faces all together here. Quick planar, as well as peel. And let's have a look around. Of course, we have these edges here on the side. And in that case, there's nothing we can do here with the straightening, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. Actually, let's also attach these extra faces here. And now we have them all. So actually one thing that I can do is to just select these faces and I'm going to break them as well as just flipping them. So usually I like to keep my stuff horizontal, not too much vertical stuff. I just find it more natural. I don't know, it's just something I'm used to. And this piece can stay like that. And this piece here can also stay like that. So that would be this piece here. Let's rescale it. Let's work on this one here. Flatten map. I'm gonna take this element here and I am going to straighten that edge, detach this element here, and also straighten it here. So I'm just gonna keep our edges straight as always. And I also wanna make this here perfectly aligned horizontally as well as straightened. And that looks okay. This can stay like that. So I'm just gonna also straighten it once more here, as well as here. And that would be that. Let's have a look at this here. So that needs some more stitching here. And everything else can just stay exactly as it is. So that would already be done. Let's just rescale it. And on the other side, we have exactly the same element, just a little longer here. Same thing, I'm just gonna flatten map it. And that piece here is already perfect as it is. And this one here is only missing this little element here. So same as before, I'm just gonna detach it here. As well as straightening this here. And that piece looks fine. Let's have a look at that here. Some more stitching again, and everything else seems to be also ready. Let's align it here to this edge so that this is perfectly straight later when we bake the normal map. This is the longest surface here on that whole piece, so it's good to keep that straight there. And next I want to be working here on the handguard, and that is a prime example of where we can just detach it again and later copy it back on. So we're gonna have a seam here in the middle then, but that's okay. So let's just isolate this, and I'm going to, as always, flatten map it. Select this piece here, and then with Control you can add stuff to your selection, as you probably already know. And with this selection here, I'm then just gonna quick planar it, as well as peeling it. And the only thing that I want to do here is to keep these edges, like make them a little straighter down here. So let's go in the vertex mode and add some control points here. It doesn't need a whole lot, but that already seems a little better here. So I'm going to exit the peel mode, and now it's just a matter of making our edges straight again. Same as these ones here, and those guys here. Seems to be fine. And let's have a look for the other things. We can just keep this as it is, as well as this piece here in the middle. And our other things, I'm just gonna flatten map them again. You can leave this piece as well, so I'm just gonna put it over here. And that piece seems to be, let's have a look at it from this view. Let's just attach these faces to it. And it seems to be fine to here, because this is exactly where we would want to break it anyway. So I'm just going to leave it like this here as well. And let's just see what else we have here. You can already take these faces here as well as this one. Gonna break this out here and just straighten it. So now it's perfectly square. And this piece here, we can do the same thing. And as for these pieces here, they can also stay like this. So it's also just a matter of straightening it again. Same here. And same here. And that would be the handguard here already. So I'm just gonna rescale it again. And I'm going to work on the upper handguard. And this handguard here, the upper one, I definitely want to keep it unique as one unwrap. I won't mirror anything here because it's just very visible from how we see it. If we look at it, this is something that we will always see, and we don't want to have any symmetry on it there. We just want to keep it perfectly unique and with different texture on it. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to flatten map it. And actually I'm going to select all these elements here. And while being here in the left orthographic view, I'm going to add these other faces to it. Also here. That leaves us with exactly this selection here all the way around. Quick planar and peel. Let's exit the peel mode for a moment. And now let's just align it. This here should be the middle, so I'm gonna align it like this. Or wait a second, that here is actually the middle, so let's align it here. And now I'm going back into my peel mode and I'll straighten it out so that this is actually square. So I'm gonna add some control points here as well. And let's get rid of this control point here. Unpin selected. Let's add one here and let's add one here and also get rid of this one. And that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna exit the peel mode here. Flip it around or rotate it around. And now I just have to align those edges again. Same as down here. And let's make an edge selection for these ones here as well and straighten them. And same for these. And these ones here don't go all the way around, so I'm gonna straighten it all out here. And these ones, I'm gonna deselect this edge and this edge, but also straighten the rest. Somewhere around here. Looks good. And it doesn't matter that those edges here aren't perfectly straight because it's just the wood texture anyway. It really doesn't matter. So, oops, I wasn't done yet here. And as for these faces here, actually we can then just select them all. Exit the UV editor and detach half of it. So these faces here we can definitely share with the other side again. So I'm just gonna also add our material back, and that leaves us with only half to unwrap, and that means we have more texture space left for the things that really matter. Let's flatten map it again. And let's see if that's already done, like the last one basically. Let's just straighten it here. Also this. No, that Wasn't working quite right, so I'm just gonna do it manually here. All these faces here we want to keep unique. We won't be welding them together in order for the normal map to work in the best way. Otherwise it's too much of an angle here again. And let's see this one here, also straighten it. And that would be the upper handguard. And since time really flies, we're almost at the end again of 1.5 hours. And the only pieces that I still want to tackle are these metal bits here as well. So we attached them together earlier here. Let's just, for the sake of unwrapping, detach them again. Let's detach it here, and let's also detach it here, but let's keep the faces on top together because this is what belongs together. So everything else we are safe to then detach. And let me just attach all that together here and treat it as one piece that we're gonna unwrap. Do this one first here. And I want to break this piece out of here and do what we already did a few times now. I'm gonna treat this one as, this whole piece here as one stripe. Quick planar and straighten, as well as relax. Let's just straighten it here in the middle. And everything else is good on that piece. Actually, that was probably confusing. Let's just, why would we just do it there in the middle? I thought that maybe we could copy one side over, but let's just keep it unique here. And for the sake of consistency, we're just gonna straighten everything here on this metal bit. And let's do the next one over here. Select everything and flatten map it. And in that case here, that angle is perfect to keep it as one piece here. So I'm not gonna detach that here from it. I'm just gonna leave it like this. Let's see if we can do something with the peel mode on it. This might have given us a few more extra pixels here that add to some more detail, so it was worth it. Let's put this over here. And this piece is already unwrapped. And the rest we can then just, as always, stitch back together. And I'm gonna straighten it and relax. And just leave these edges here on the sides straight as well. And the last one would be this one. So I'm just gonna select it all again, flatten map. And in that case, no worries. I'm not gonna straighten this here. We're just gonna keep this as one piece. So that's already done pretty much. And on that side, we can also just use what we already have here. The only thing we want to do is to stitch this back together. And it looks like it belongs here. Actually, I just want to do this stripe first. Let's take this bit here and break it, and also add it to this selection here. Just gonna straighten it. Also straighten it here again. And let's see where these bits belong to. Okay, this is these inside faces. So just a matter of stitching it all back together. Select everything and let's give it the rescale elements. And probably what we can do later, once we have it all laid out on our textures, we can then probably share these back pieces. For now, we don't bother with it. We just unwrap everything, and then later when we puzzle it all together, hopefully already in the next video, then we can think about stuff like this to save some extra texture space. So to wrap that up here, let's just also rescale the elements once more. And again, we made quite a lot of progress here. And hopefully in the next video, we can then finish the rest and already start puzzling our UV map together.